Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining us for our May webinar. My name is Corey Hesser, and I'm one of the program developers at Kirkwood Corporate Training. Today, we are thrilled to be with Brenda Meeker. Brenda Meeker is passionate about supporting others in their personal and professional growth. As owner and president of Elevate Consulting, she provides learning and development, HR, and project-based solutions to meet organizational and employee development needs. She has worked in corporate and nonprofit settings in Division I athletics, providing a range of experience that informs her current work. Brenda has experience in training and meeting facilitation, human resources, managing projects and events, and developing communication plans and messages. She has a bachelor's degree from Northwestern College and an MBA from Drake University. 3 fun facts about Brenda. Brenda visited La Cruces, if I pronounced that right, New Mexico twice within a year after, not knowing about Las Cruces at all. The reason for the trips, college basketball games at New Mexico State University. She was once hired for a job at a family-owned jewelry store because she knows how to milk cows. Brenda and her husband are on a mission to attend a baseball game at each of the 30 Major League Baseball stadiums. She wishes to be further along in the quest. She's visited 13 ballparks so far, and it would be more if going to Wrigley Field wasn't on repeat. Time management is the topic today, so I will quit wasting time and hand it over to Brenda.
Well, Corey, I appreciate that. And introductions are a good use of time, and we'll talk about why here in just a little bit. I'm really excited to be here with you all, talking about a topic that most, if not all of us, have some room for improvement with. And that's how we manage or use our time. And when I titled this session, Where Did the Time Go?, I had 2 types of days in mind. The one is when we are in our groove. We are getting stuff done. The day is flying by. Tasks are getting checked off the list. And we look down and we realize we need to wrap it up. We have to go. We need to go to an after-work event or take kids to an activity, get home for dinner, whatever the case may be. And we're feeling good. We're feeling accomplished. The second type of day is when you look down at the clock, realize you need to go, and you think, what did I even do today? You were pulled from one thing to the next, consistently interrupted. For whatever reason, maybe you couldn't get your mind to focus. And you feel that stress level raise because you know that tomorrow, all of that is going to be there waiting for you. Which kind of day do we want? We want the first one, of course, where we're feeling good, we're feeling accomplished. We felt like we really owned our day. You're all here for a reason. What's your why? Time management is important to you for some reason. Maybe you need to get a handle on your time and how you manage your days. You're just not sure where to start or where to take a first step. Maybe you are tired of that stressed feeling, knowing that you're not getting enough done or that more work keeps coming your way, and you need to figure out how to manage that better. Or maybe you've gotten better at managing your time and you just need a reminder or another step that you could take to continue getting better. Or maybe it's something else altogether. I want to pause here for a few seconds and ask you to write down your why. When we can tie the skills and habits that we're trying to build back to a greater purpose, back to a goal, we can use that goal to recall what's important to us. What's our why? There are going to be days where we stumble, when we fall, when we just don't want to do and practice the skills that we know are the right thing to do, and this can call us back to focus. Now, we have less than 30 minutes together. Here's my plan for our day today. Hopefully, it addresses some of your whys, especially when we get to the busting myths and using tips section. But regardless, I'm going to ask you to make a commitment at the end of our time together. One step you can take to get better with how you manage your time. If your why is not addressed here, I'm going to ask you to drop a note in the chat to Corey saying, what area of time management do you struggle with? Because we'll have an opportunity to address that later. Let's start with this idea. Stephen R. Covey said that time management is a misnomer. The challenge is to manage ourselves. We all have the same amount of time in our day. The choices we make and how we use our time is the difference. When it comes to our time, are we using it in ways that help us achieve our goals, that align with our values, that help us with relationships? Are we doing the work that really moves the needle? It's those important things. How do we know what's important and how do we prioritize that? I'm a firm believer in understanding current state so that we can make the best choices possible so that we can move forward better. With time management, that means that we need to track our time. Where are we actually using it? And that means we track everything. Corey has a tool that she's going to drop in the chat. There are a lot of tools that can help us track our time. You can find them online. You could use this tool, adapt it to what works for you. You can keep notes on your phone, whatever helps you. But the idea is to keep track for 1 week. Everything you do from your morning routine. You know, maybe you like to spend some quiet time before the house gets hectic. Maybe you like to read, work out. You have your time getting ready, traveling to work. We're on our phones, we're on our email, we're working with people. We have that after work stuff. Keep track of everything. Then you can identify what was really a good use of time. What buckets are we spending our time on so that we can make those changes going forward? That's what the note section here is for, to help you identify those things so that at the end of your week, you can make better choices. You might be thinking, that sounds really tedious. Why would I want to do that? I've heard many times throughout my career that you need to slow down to speed up. Take the time for 1 week, keep track of what's going on so that you can make changes so that you can go quicker in the future. If you want a really eye-opening opportunity, maybe think about yesterday and jot down everything that you did, how much time you think you spent on it, and then compare it to what you actually find when you're tracking that information. It can be real eye-opening, especially when, for me, I look at how much time I spend on my phone and how that takes me away from what I really want to be doing. Earlier, I mentioned spending time on what's important. In his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen R. Covey talks about kind of the 4 categories that we spend our time in. And they're ranked, if you will, by importance and urgency. The quadrant 1 is urgent, important work. These are the emergencies, the fires that come up throughout the day. They need to be handled right now. Sometimes that's a real emergency. Other times it's likely man-made due to procrastination, too many deadlines hitting at once. Perhaps you have an angry customer or coworker that you need to talk with. Maybe it's the kid project that you're told about at 7 p.m. the night before it's due and they haven't started it yet. It's very urgent and now it has to be dealt with. These are the things that make us feel like we're just living in survival mode. If we move to quadrant 2, we're in a not urgent and important mode. This is where we get results, where we're focusing on bigger picture items that match our purpose, our values, our goals. This is where we spend time on relationships, on our own well-being, which is really top of mind right now, and especially in May during Mental Health Awareness Month, focused on us and people as well as our goals. These things are usually longer term items. They might need more creativity, more collaboration with others. And if they had a pressing deadline, they would get pushed over into quadrant 1 because it's now urgent. When you move down to quadrant 3, we have things that are urgent but not important. These are things like someone else's priorities, and that shows up when we continually get interrupted throughout the day. It could be choosing to have our email be like instant messaging, or it could be when we're in a meeting that's always on the calendar, it's something that's scheduled, but we're not really making progress on our important work. Quadrant 4 is neither urgent nor important. This is busy work, wasted time, the task that you choose to do because you think you don't have time to start something new, or you're purposefully avoiding something. Maybe it's something like cleaning out your email inbox. It's not urgent, it's not important, things have been dealt with, but it's just a time killer. This can also be where trying to be perfect shows up, when perfect isn't necessary. This slide isn't perfect. It could be prettier. However, you're getting the point, and spending more time on it could have diluted what you needed to see. We tend to spend our time in quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. We live in the urgent. When I talk with people, and especially leaders, about what their job is, they tell me what on paper they should be doing, but in real life, they're actually putting out fires, responding to things that come up for them or their team throughout the day. They want to be spending time training, working on strategy, coaching team members, having conversations, getting to know people, but instead they're reacting. When you think about quadrant 3, we're allowing distractions to come into our day. And maybe there are items in that bucket that we could delegate to others. What we really want to do is spend our time in quadrant 2 on the things that we call important. We want to spend time on relationships. We want to spend time achieving the goals that we've set out to do. But what's important? That's what we have to decide. And that's a personal realization for each of us. And it also requires talking with others so that we can prioritize accordingly. Let's go back to our tool. Looks a little bit bigger now, but we can turn this, instead of a time tracker, into a to-do list. I love a good to-do list. And I really, really love being able to check things off, knowing that I can see that I've accomplished something and just how much I've gotten done. And I know I'm not alone in that. I bet there's some of you out there like that too. The challenge is our to-do list often misses the point. It becomes this just running list of tasks. It keeps growing and growing. Some things never get touched, and there's lack of priority. So if we want a better to-do list, we need to understand what's important and the priority level that goes with it. So here you can see we've unhidden some columns. I've been able to attach my activities, my to-do list. This is for today, with a purpose or goal behind it. I've labeled it not urgent or important. You can see in green, or whatever quadrant it fits into. And from there, I can figure out what has to come first. There is an urgent and important item on here. Some of our work is very deadline driven. Being on this webinar was scheduled. I needed to be here. Number one priority, urgent and important, has to happen today. The other things I can prioritize based on the needs that I have, either for my business or my life, or for the needs of others. And you can see how that matches here. When we know what's important and we know the priority level, we can then schedule it. I've put some time frames here. In actuality, I would flip that right over to my calendar and skip that step. But the things that I really need on my calendar are those things in green. If it is important, it needs to be scheduled. When we have that listed, we know what needs to be accomplished. And we also here, if I follow my list, have some gaps in there. Those fires will come up. We have to be flexible, but we want to try to mitigate them as much as possible. So giving some wiggle time, not scheduling every second of every day, helps me be able to respond to things that do pop up, gives me time for breaks, gives me times for things like taking care of myself if I haven't already scheduled it, like that walk at the end of. We've spent time talking about tracking time to understand how we're actually using it, identifying how we can make changes and move more towards that quadrant 2, the things that are important. Now let's get to some quick tips that can help us starting today. I want to start by busting a myth for you, and it relates to multitasking. Kindly, I say to you, stop it. Stop saying that we're great multitaskers. Stop asking people to be great at it, because multitasking is a myth. We have amazing, wonderful brains that can only accomplish one cognitive task at a time. We are switching from one thing to the next, sometimes very quickly, but it is not true multitasking. We wear it as a badge of honor. We say it helps us be more productive, but that is actually a myth as well. When we switch from one task to the next, that actually takes time to do. And so we're spending time, wasting time, losing time, switching. And when we're not focused, we're actually losing up to 23 minutes every time we go back to that task that we started with. When I learned it, it was 7 to 10 minutes. The latest research is 23 minutes. That's over a third of an hour. If we want to do better, we need to stay focused. The best way to do that is try to block our time. You might have heard of the Pomodoro technique, where it says that you can schedule 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break. If you want to start with 20, that's great too. You can choose to come back to that same task, or you can move to something else, depending on what your day is like. I prefer to sit and work in longer chunks of time, so I let my smartwatch be my guide. When it says it's time to stand, if I'm in a position to do so, I do that. I get up, I take a break, and then I come back. Whatever works for you in the amount of time, schedule that block and do everything you can to stay focused. There are different techniques and ideas to do that we can talk about on a different day. But the first way that we need to stay focused is minimize our distractions. We need to maintain our focus. I've not always been a fast follower when it comes to technology, and one example is the smartwatch. A few months ago, my husband got a new Apple Watch and decided to give me his old one. And it was a blessing for me that he programmed it for me, wore it to work the first day, and I was miserable. I had notifications coming through nonstop. Any notification that hit my phone hit my wrist, and I was distracted most of the day. Came home, I took it off. I said, you need to please fix this. These are the only notifications I want. And now I'm much, much less distracted. I do get notified when I have an appointment to stand, things like that. But I'm able to minimize that physical distraction for the sake of staying focused on the task at hand. Our phones are constantly giving us notifications. They make a sound, they vibrate, they light up. The best thing that I can do is flip my phone upside down or even put it away from me when I need true focus. And it not only helps us focus on work, but it helps us focus on the people in our lives that need our attention. It helps them know that we are focused on them solely and not distracted by all of the other things coming in. When we're at work, one of the biggest distractions we can face is our email. We do treat it like something that needs to be handled immediately. Yet very few of us are in roles where our email, instant messaging, and phone are a part of our job to help provide support customers immediately. So if you're in a position that's different than that, that's one where you don't need to be on email all of the time, instead of responding and letting notifications come up, turn the notifications off. Outlook is wonderful. You can turn off the noise when an email comes in. You can turn off the little notification in the corner that previews the message, even the icon that hits your taskbar. Schedule time instead and let your coworkers, let people know that that's when you respond. I choose to do it 3 times a day. First thing in the morning, sometime around lunch, and then mid to late afternoon so that I'm getting back to people in a timely manner. Let people know that's what you're doing. If they need to find you, if it truly is urgent, they'll know how to get a hold of you. But the best thing you can do is stay focused on your busy work, turn off the distractions, and respond to email as a part of some of that work that you build into your day. Finally, let's talk about procrastination. This is another badge of honor many of us wear. 20 to 25% of us procrastinate. The good news is we're not alone. The bad news is it creates challenges for us. And we say it's a great thing because when we are up against a deadline, we can do some amazing work and crank it out and get it done. That can be true. When we do it consistently, it adds stress that can actually be harmful to us. Now, there are a variety of reasons we procrastinate. That's a topic for a different day to get to the root cause and address those. But I want us to acknowledge that detriment of that stress. The fact that if we're hurrying to get something done for a deadline, we're likely to make more mistakes. And we're pushing ourselves into quadrant 1, where now things are urgent that didn't necessarily need to be. And we're creating that emergency for ourselves, but how often might we be creating an emergency for someone else? I know I can identify when that happens to me, and I'm sure I've done it to others as well. So to mitigate procrastination, I encourage you to just chip away. So we're going to layer these ideas. Focus on the task or the project that you've been putting off and just commit 10 to 20 minutes a day, every day. Make a little bit of progress. What you might find is that you're now gaining some momentum. You now have the opportunity to get focused on it for even longer because it's not so bad or you're almost there. You're giving yourself more time to work with others or address challenges as they come up. And then you're easily hitting your deadlines. You now have more ownership of your day instead of letting that own you when you're up against that deadline. Layer these ideas. Stay focused, minimize your distractions, and chip away at the work at hand, and you will be in more control of your time. I've also mentioned taking the break. Throughout my career, I have failed at this. I believe that I have so much to do, so that I just need to keep working. I'm going to skip my break. I'm going to stay past quitting time, I'm going to power through and check more off of my list. There may be a time and place for that. And especially when we're in that day one situation that I mentioned at the very beginning, when we're in our groove, like keep going. But when we are in a position where we're losing energy, we're slowing down, we're not feeling creative to get the deep work done, take the break. Stand up, get some water, move around, stretch if you need to. Shift your focus for 5 to 10 minutes. Feeling refreshed, coming back with some more energy will get more done in the long run than if you sat for those 5 to 10 minutes and tried to power through. I tend to use my breaks focused on things related to sports, which is represented here by my picture with Matt Campbell from the Iowa State football team, or now that I work from home, being with one of the pets that we have. So I take that time to refresh, rejuvenate. I give you permission, take the break. You may have heard a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That is true for creating change in your life. And when we are working on creating these new skills, creating these new habits, it's going to take time. You may need to assess what your goals, what your purpose is, so that you can determine what's important. You'll need to have conversations with people to understand priorities, to make sure there's alignment so that you can focus on quadrant 2 in the best way. And then there's just the time it takes to actually form the habit. Stay committed. What's the one thing you can do starting today, tomorrow, chip away to get better at your time? Reflect on that, write it down, and then start making a step every single day. And know that you're not alone. You have resources. Kirkwood, Corey, and I, we're here to help. She's got some more information about what that could look like. But just know that we're grateful that you're here today, committed to using your time and owning your days better. So let's go make progress together. Corey, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Brenda. Now would be a great time for you to start putting your questions in the chat. And while we wait for those questions, I would just ask that if you would please stay on for a quick 3-question poll after this session. I also want to let you know that this session is a 30-minute teaser for Brenda's full 4-hour session. That's going to be part of our 2023/24 flexible and innovative training series. So be on the lookout for more sessions, instructor information, and dates in the upcoming weeks for that. And Brenda, the only question I have is regarding slides. I will take that offline for us, Brenda, and then I will send out an email after this session with the link and anything further. Mardella Stoker says, great training, Brenda, provided some great information and tips.
Thank you.
Mardella. All right. Well, Brenda, we thank you again for your time today. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.